for that. In India, it's actually used as part of the cancer protocol because they've noticed anti-tumor abilities of the plant. And it also increases white blood cell counts, which we talked about, the immune strengthening part of the adaptogens, and the white blood cells being part of our defense system is going to be strengthened by the ashwagandha. By the way, in China, when they use chemotherapy with people, which is different than our chemotherapy that we use in the West, it's just as toxic, but it's actually an herbal combination of highly toxic herbs that are targeting those cells, but very severe side effects there too. They use a supplemental therapy that's called Fuzheng, and that supplemental therapy targets the side effects of the chemotherapy. So for instance, they use herbs that are going to be bringing the white blood cell count up, like ashwagandha, or they're going to strengthen the red blood cell, which also can drop during the chemotherapy, targeting with herbs that are helping you with the nausea. So actually, those herbal combinations are so effective, so the Fuzheng therapy is so effective, that some of the patients that undergo chemotherapy they have better blood results than before they had the cancer. It's very interesting because it's very targeted to those particular side effects. Ashwagandha, again, it increases red blood cells and white blood cells. So think about it on those lines. It also has effects on the musculoskeletal system. It's a muscle relaxant. So traditionally it's been used for low back pain, overall back pain and low back pain. It's going to be useful for things like fibromyalgia, which oftentimes, that has a stress-related component to it, as well as a sleep disorder to it. Somnifera, by the way, which is in the Latin name, it's a species. So Lutania somnifera. Somnifera means sound sleep. So that signifies that the herb is really good. Like when we talk about the sleep hygiene, this is an herb that you can take about a gram of before going to sleep. And besides it helping you long term with the stress response, it also helps you have sound sleep. As far as heart health is concerned, we have an herb that is going to lower LDL and VLDL, so the parts of the cholesterol panel that are attributed to heart disease, so it's the LDL, VLDL, triglycerides, and blood sugar levels. So when we look at the metabolic axe syndrome, which is high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and out of the normal range blood lipids, it's going to be helpful herb to supplement with. Very important that it's actually a thyroid stimulant. So someone with a low functioning thyroid and who's struggling with stress and anxiety, that's going to be a really important herb. So much so actually that for someone who has a hyper-functioning, like a over-functioning thyroid, it's actually contraindicated. We have to use it.
Are there certain manufacturers or concentrations that you have to be concerned about?
With ashwagandha? Describe what you mean?
Like how many milligrams, like some manufacturer might put in fillers versus, are there certain manufacturers you recommend in certain dosages?
Yeah, there are better brands always, like it just, you can do your research. I know, I represent one, there's one locally, Gaia Herbs, in Brevard, they grow ashwagandha too. Anywhere where you can grow potatoes, because it's, this is a nice shade, anywhere where you can grow potatoes, you can grow ashwagandha. It's not always the best quality though, so there are manufacturers, I'm not here, to talk about my brand, but I know that they struggled with growing a high quality ashwagandha for a couple of years in the Northwest, and they were, basically the vitanolyte content of the ashwagandha was kind of low. They couldn't even put that it helps support stress on the bottle for a while because it didn't meet those medicinal chart standards that when you can claim that. So it took them a while to regenerate the soil to get a better form. So there are, yeah, definitely. You can, read reviews, and there are some better ones. I can tell you after if you're interested. And the other thing with, just in general with herbs, what I like to suggest is that taking a tincture is usually better than taking a capsule. So an alcohol extract is going to be a more potent. There's a 30% on average, 30% higher absorption with an alcohol extract than with a capsule, especially if someone is struggling with digestive issues, digestive disorders, because you think about it, you have to break down the tablet, you have to, basically it's not as readily available in that tablet form. And I take them both, actually. I take capsules and I take tinctures, but generally the first choice should be an extract, I think an alcohol extract. Yes. And then in some cultures, actually, it's been used for habitual miscarriage. So, because it's a uterine tonic, and at the same time, what they noticed is that when it can cause miscarriage when you are already pregnant. So it's kind of an interesting thing there. Usually, it's contraindicated if somebody's pregnant or trying to get pregnant because of that effect. So overall, we have an herb in the ashwagandha that is going to be calming, which is unusual for adaptogens. Generally, they're more stimulating, even the American ginseng. Increases the thyroid levels. It's going to help with heart health. It's going to really focus on this HPA axis to help you with the stress response. Even over days, like I've talked to people, they're like, man, I was an emotional mess. It was just like anxieties were off the chart, and I started taking, a couple of grams a day, and she said, by the third day, it was totally like it skirted off. Totally, my anxiety levels were a lot better. So some of these things can act really fast. In paragraph C, we have astragalus, which comes to us originally from China, and it mostly we look at it in the Asheville Ataxia group. We actually had someone share testimony about getting recurring bronchitis, lung infections, and he said that after he started taking astragalus, that stopped. So that basically went away, that's how we mostly use the herb in Western herbalism. Basically, besides having the adaptogenic effect, it's going to help your immune system. It's going to help you catch colds less often, and it has a strengthening effect on the lungs, so especially if the immune weakness is focused on the lungs. You can think about that. Think about astragalus as being your friend. Also, in Chinese medicine, it's very much used to protect the kidneys. So they actually were doing studies on people that were almost requiring dialysis, and after taking a couple grams of astragalus a day, they didn't need to go as far as going into dialysis because the progression of the chronic kidney disease was evened out. So they maintained their kidney function without having to go on dialysis. Especially mixing it with herbs like cordyceps and nettle seed. It also has some liver protective effects. And I'm not going to read every single thing in the notes, so we don't have time to go over everything. But that's why you can keep these. You can take them home and study them or look at them if you like. They have astragalus has liver protective effects, especially combining it with things like milk thistle or turmeric that we talked about, or schizandra berries. And then the next one, paragraph D, is Asian ginseng. It's similar to the American ginseng that we talked about. So it's going to, of course, help you with the HPA axis. It helps an exhausted person who's spent all their reserves and they're in chronic stress, whether it's physical or emotional. It's going to help rebuild that. What we said there is that American ginseng is not as stimulating, it's more neutral. Asian ginseng is really good for someone who's totally exhausted to the point where they're cold all the time. They were gonna just sleep all day. They sleep 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day, and they're still tired. That, they're at that point of exhaustion. On the other hand, for someone who is more easily overstimulated, that's not necessarily the herb you want to go to because it can be too much. It's interesting to mention that there is a certain type of insomnia or sleep disorder that we can talk about that is called deficient insomnia. So sometimes a person can be so tired, so exhausted from exertion that they can't go into a deep sleep. So they're too tired to sleep. Ginseng in those cases can really help because it starts to build back your reserve. I've actually had someone just recently that I did that. I gave them licorice with American ginseng because they were very exhausted and couldn't go to sleep. And lo and behold, you give them something that's a little bit more stimulating, but they sleep better. Because the problem there was that they didn't have reserves to even go to sleep. They were so exhausted. So Asian ginseng also has some profound effects on the heart. It can lower blood sugar levels, blood lipids. This is also a pretty common thing, not with every single adaptogen, but you see that they do help with what we call the opposite of the metabolic X syndrome. So they lower the blood sugar. They're going to help with cholesterol, LDL, VLDL levels. And there you have the cordyceps is an interesting one. How much time do we have, Mike? Like 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay, just to finish it. Cordyceps is actually a mushroom that grows out of the ghost moth, and it's called a caterpillar fungus because it's shaped like a caterpillar. It actually cannibalizes the caterpillar, or the way that it's grown originally, and it's also an adaptogen. In China, it was used for people getting ready for the Olympics, so it helps physical strength. Actually, they performed so well on cordyceps and some blood doping, but part of it was the cordyceps that they thought that they were using some kind of synthetic doping methods. This was a couple decades ago, and they realized that the Chinese athletes were taking cordyceps. It's going to be very helpful for the lungs. So someone with chronic lung weakness can think about cordyceps as well as combining it with estradiol that we covered. On the next page, we talked about eleuthero a little bit, so let's look at holy basil. Holy basil is a very easy herb to incorporate into your diet because it's a sweet, a little bit bitter tasting herb that you can find again in any grocery store. You can find it in a tea form. And they're very easy to consume, very easy to get a hold of. And it helps, not only is calming like ashwagandha, it's also going to help or have some really profound effects on the immune system when it comes to allergies. So think about that herb when you think about getting your seasonal allergies under control, even if it's pad dander or mold related. It's also an antidepressant in certain type of depressions, like stagnant depression, which I don't have time to describe, but you can just read it in the notes. It does have a negative effect on fertility, so but while most of the adaptogens actually enhance fertility, so oftentimes like ashwagandha or even ginseng, it was given to a young married couple as a gift for them to get pregnant more easily. Holy basil actually has the opposite. Licorice, I like to think of as it's like a panacea, but really it has a lot of different uses. What I would like to highlight is if there's inflammatory bowel diseases or so IBS, IBD, inflammatory bowel disease or irritable bowel syndrome is the other one, which is very, very common these days. Crohn's, colitis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. Those are all, at least to some extent, they have autoimmune part in their pathology. So licorice is going to help with the immune balance as well as calming that inflammation. The very interesting thing about licorice is that if you have to take steroids long term for some kind of inflammatory disease, it actually lessens the toxicity of the steroid as well as the amount of steroids that you need. And it's very safe to use with that. Let's keep reading. Page 7, paragraph I, rhodiola, we can end with this. Rhodiola is one of my favorite adaptogens, I have a lot of them. It's a nervine, so it's going to help nourish the nervous system. It's used as an antidepressant. It's pretty effective, so much so that actually, if someone has bipolar disorder, so when they have a tendency to get into a manic phase, rhodiola can actually push them into that manic phase easily, so it's recommended to avoid that in those situations. But it's an effective nerval stimulant, helps in cases of ADHD. You can use it with hawthorn, fresh oats, or bacopa to improve memory. It is also an immune infiltrator, so again, if there's any autoimmune conditions that are going on, especially if it's combined with depression, you can think about rhodiola. Helps fertility, and it balances minor hormonal imbalances, especially in women. And last but not least, it helps with muscle stiffness. So, if you have that going on, you can think of rhodiola and ashwagandha. We talked about both of them helping with muscle cramps and that stiffness, besides them being nourishing to the HPA axis. So, with this we can wrap up. And basically this last part, I just wanted to show you that, how many different uses of these herbs can have. And that, that's why it's important for us to grow in knowledge, because, we don't want to think about herbal medicine as like, okay, I just need one adaptogen, like that's just one from the bucket. But all of the herbs have a certain character. They all are good for something different. Some of them synergize. So, I hope I awakened stirred a little bit of your hunger towards this, and you learned a couple things. And yes, there's a question.
Yeah, you have stirred mine.